He is the professor at the Goldman School of Public Policy at the University of California at Berkeley. He was the Secretary of Labor in the Clinton administration. Frankly, in my opinion, the best cabinet officer that Bill Clinton ever had, and he should have been in the Obama cabinet. In fact, instead of this Lou fellow, if anything should be head of OMB, it should be Robert Reich. He's a senior fellow at the New America Foundation. He's the author of excuse me, I got that wrong. He is the author of numerous books, and his latest is Aftershock, The Next Economy and America's Future, which I am holding up for the screen for those of you watching us on Free Speech TV, on Dish Network and DirecTV, Manhattan Neighborhood Networks, and all over the country. And on the radio, you just have to trust me. It's a really cool book, Aftershock. Robert Reich, welcome back to our program, sir.
Hello, Thom. How are you?
I am fine. In the last segment, I was dancing around the edge of the difference between creating a circular firing squad and being the wind behind a politician's back, and some of the structural changes and problems that we have in this country. You go right to it. I love your book. I love your book, and I think that the sentence, or it's actually two sentences, if I may, if you would indulge me to read them to our listeners, that best summarizes your book. I found on page 75. You say, to summarize, the fundamental problem is that Americans no longer have the purchasing power to buy what the U.S. economy is capable of producing. The reason is that a larger and larger portion of total income has been going to the top. What's broken is the basic bargain linking pay to production, and the solution is to remake the bargain. So please describe for us what that bargain was or should be and how we go about remaking it.
Well, Thom, it's a very basic bargain in the sense that workers in America in the 1950s, 60s, and really through the mid-1970s, for the most part, got enough money through their paychecks to buy what they produced, the goods and services that they made. And that meant that the economy grew steadily. And, we had 30% of Americans were in labor unions that contributed to those good wages. We also had an economy that was, for a whole variety of reasons, through mostly government policies beginning in the New Deal, the 30s, the 40s, early 1950s, working for everybody. The rich were taking home only about 9% of total income, and yet they were paying fairly substantial marginal income taxes. Under Dwight Eisenhower, who nobody would accuse of being a radical, the top marginal income tax on the very richest Americans was 91%.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that since 1980, all of that basic bargain has come apart. Right now, the richest 1%, instead of having 9% of total national income, they're taking home 23.5%. The middle class has gone nowhere. In fact, the only way that most middle-class families were able to continue buying, even though wages were going nowhere for 30 years, Thom, is, first of all, women went into paid work in droves, and then everybody worked harder, and then everybody borrowed more and borrowed up to the teeth. But all of those, what I call them, coping mechanisms.
You described those as three coping mechanisms. Well, or they've maxed out. I mean, they've
maxed out. There's and that really underlies the economic predicament we're in. We're not going to be able to have a healthy, growing economy until the middle class gets a larger share of the total national gains, economic gains.
And Robert Reich, in part, for years I've been saying roll back the Reagan tax cuts. Forget about the Bush tax cuts. Roll back the Reagan tax cuts. I wrote op-eds 8 years ago about this for Common Dreams and Huffington Post and whatnot. And you are suggesting that the top 1%, people making more than $410,000 a year, should pay a marginal tax rate of around 55%, and the top 2% over 50%. Other authors have pointed out that in the history of the United States, whenever our top marginal tax rate was over 50% on the very rich, the economy stabilized. And whenever it went below that 50% threshold, the economy started to wobble because the rich started to speculate like crazy, and that you can see that same thing played out in other countries around the world. So I think it's